All right. We are starting our meeting number 15, Team E, and it is 10:21 Mountain Standard Time, November 12th. Today, we have a couple things on our agenda. I'm going to be teaching threads, executor runnables, and Android handlers. And Jason will be teaching. What are you teaching, Jason?
Servlets.
Servlets. So I guess we can go ahead and that. Did you want to go first, or you want me to go first, Jason? Doesn't matter.
I'm ready to go, so I will start.
All right. I'll make you presenter.
Close all this other junk. Okay. I don't have a lot of slides to show, but I think servlets are pretty simple, so there's not a whole lot to show anyway. Let's see. Share. You guys see me okay? Okay,
Yes.
so here we go. Servlets. What is a servlet? Back in the old days, these were called applets, little applications. Servlets is a more modern term. When you say the word servlet, there's four things that can define what a servlet is. The first thing is it's an API that provides many interfaces and classes in Java. A servlet is also an interface that must be implemented for creating any servlet. So this is actual code. Oops, guess I can't click when I... Okay, let's try this again. Okay, oh my gosh. So this little second area here where it says public class send email extends, HTTP servlet and servlet, those are extending that interface for Java. So there's a whole bunch of different methods and things that come with that, and I'll show you those. Third, a servlet is a class that extends capabilities of the servers and responds to the incoming request. It can respond to any type of request, but the fourth line here is the most common is a web component, and it's used in HTTP, so client server, and that's really the gist of what I get out of servlets. It's best to use it in a web environment. And so when you make a servlet in NetBeans, you need to create a new project and make it a web-enabled project, and I'll show you that in a minute. Client server is kind of the main functionality of a servlet. A client requests information from a server. That response is generated at runtime, and then the response is sent back to the client. A servlet is nothing more than a Java class or a collection or a package that is compiled, stored on a web server. It sits there dormant until it's called, and then it runs, it creates the content, and then sends it back to the client, and then it goes back dormant again. Back in the old days, this was done with CGI. You can also do it with PHP today, but servlets perform much better. If you remember CGI, it was about 10 years ago. It kind of just stopped being used, and I was curious as to why, and did some research, and I found out that CGI is a server-side type technology. It runs and does its processing on the server, and so if you had like 1 million clients hitting your website, that would spawn 1 million threads on your web server, and it was really easy to take advantage of that, bring web servers to their knees, and so we needed a better way to do it, and that's where servlets come in, because they sit dormant until they're called. When they're called, the execution's done on the client, and everything's better because the web server can keep up with the amount of requests that come in. So that's basically all I have for slides, but there's not much more to it. I just kind of wanted to show you what I've been doing with the servlets on my end. So over here in NetBeans land, I've created a new project and I've called it servlets, but you can see the little globe. It's actually a web project. And when you create a web project, you get all these neat little folders, web pages, where you can put your HTML type stuff. And then it starts to look the same as any other Java project. You've got your source packages, your test packages, libraries, that kind of thing. So I just pulled everything into here because I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. And I've got two of them that I wrote. One of them is working, one of them's not. This hello form is just a basic hello world type of servlet, and I didn't actually write this one, but it's compiled, it's ran on the web server, and it says hello. This next one here will send an email using a email server, and you just put your parameters in here of where your mail server's at and what email address you want to send from, and they're executed by opening a web browser. So first off, they have to be stored on a web server. Any server can run these. I'm using Glassfish because it's included in NetBeans, and it's really easy to administer and look at. And to execute these, you know, they don't have a constructor, a main constructor in here. And that's because they're executed with your web browser, so they don't need one. So when you run it, it takes a minute. It's got to start the Glassfish server. Opens up your web browser, and this is where I'm stuck. I can't get this to do anything, but I haven't put a lot of troubleshooting into it. I've just actually been fighting with getting the web server to work, getting the actual servlet to be called. So that's all in the back, and that's all done. And that took a couple of hours trying to figure out how to make it work. But this hello world form is really easy, and it just executes code on the server and pulls back HTML. So this HTML is dynamic type stuff. You can use it to read into your database and send stuff out to a form, or you can fill out a form, send it back to your web server, and then write it to a database. So that's kind of where they're used. They're used in Android a lot because a lot of Android apps, the front end is HTML, and they can be really small and really powerful. You can put a whole lot of code, or a lot of power into small amounts of code. And so you can keep your app really small. So that's basically servlets. You have any questions? I'm all ears.
So at the end there, you're saying it could be used to create forms?
Yes.
So essentially for our project, we can use that servlet to create the form to input data into our database?
Exactly. We don't need to have Swing or a GUI-based app. It can be HTML. And this is how we get the data from HTML into our database.
So our view feature would be the servlet pulls this form up, type in our new user information, put it in, and that sends it all back. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, in combination with Hibernate and URL connection and all that other stuff.
Right.
The servlet is just the piece that you compile and put on your web server. And then that's how the browser executes all of that code. So yeah, and it's easy to wrap all of this stuff into a servlet. In fact, that's what you're doing. You're wrapping all of the code into a servlet, putting it on a web server.
So you're saying we could actually do all of our program from a web page?
Yes.
Once we initiate the program?
Mm-hmm. And you can
instead of doing it
right. And this
browser
content is all dynamic. So put whatever you want in here, and it gets generated when you run it. Yeah. And it's this is just little HTML put in your Java. I don't know if you can see this or not, but
I can.
Yeah. And this is what I was talking about earlier in those slides. When you extend the name of your class, extends HTTP servlet. And when you create your objects, you build your constructor, actually. And this is pretty much the same in every one that I've ever looked at. This line here is the same in all of them. Request and response, request and response. Same thing here. Request, response. There's a ton of stuff for this on Tutorial Point. In fact, they have an entire section based on servlets.
I saw that.
Yeah, I saw that too.
It was a lot to go through.
Yeah, I know. But like Gabe said earlier, I'm not one to read and retain. I have to make it work. And so that's what I've been working on this week. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man. All right. So I've got my presentation up here. Let me get it. All right. Can everybody see that?
Yep.
Okay. So threads, executors, runnables, and Android handlers. Threads.
Or did I do something wrong?
Yeah, we lost your picture.
Oh, let me see here.
It popped up for 1 second and then went away. There it is.
You got it now? Can you see
Yeah,
it
it's
now?
back now.
Okay. So a thread is the program's path of execution. This allows a program to do multiple things at once. For example, reading keystrokes while drawing a picture. Threads allow seamless execution of 2 or more sections of a program at the same time. And this is kind of an example of a thread in Runnable. You can see the class counter implements Runnable, and this is just a method. And I've got an example on NetBeans I'm going to show in just a sec. But this is the thread, the new thread, and it takes this counter and starts basically this here. And let me see if I can get my NetBeans up here. Then I'll run that little program. Can you guys see that?
Yes, I can.
Sweet. So this is just like a kind of like a hello world type program. It's really basic, but when you run it, you know, it's successful, and it says basically just says hello from a thread. And so this is where the thread's created, and it gathers what it needs to do from the runnable, implements runnable, and starts it. So, and I guess, you know, you can make this as big as you want. You can do multiple things, multiple runnables. And this, there's 2 different ways that you can implement a thread, and these are the two different ways. It extends thread, not tread, and implements runnable. And it's said online that implements runnable is a more object-oriented approach, a better approach. There's not many reasons you would need to use extends thread. But if you use the extend thread option, you can not extend anything else. Java doesn't allow multiple inheritances. Implement runnable allows you to reuse a behavior because it doesn't contain the thread itself, which the extend thread does. Implement runnable doesn't specialize or modify the thread behavior. It gives the thread something to run. Executors. This is just some a little piece of code of how you would write an executor. While executors are with executors, the Java process never stops though. The executors have to be stopped explicitly, otherwise they keep listening for new tasks. And here's a try catch explanation of that. And this is how you would stop an executor with this executor.shutdown, and you give the time, and then down here, if it doesn't stop, you can have it do executor shutdown now, which completely shuts it down right away. And this was the last thing I researched, and it was right before we started the call, so I didn't get too much on it. But Android handlers, this is just a little explanation. A handler allows you to send and process message and runnable objects associated with a thread's message queue. Each handler instance is associated with a single thread and that thread's message queue. When you create a new handler, it is bound to the thread message queue of the thread that is creating it. From that point on, it will deliver messages and runnables to that message queue and execute them as they come out of the message queue. And so that's what I have. Not too much on it. I didn't learn too much about the Android handler, but I'm hoping to go back and spend some more time on it.
That try catch you had back there, did you run that?
I did not run it.
That seems cool. I want to run that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
It
Hang
keeps
on
you
a
from a
second, guys.
continuous loop.
here's the source for it. It's this fourth one down.
Can you throw that in the chat window?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I had to step away for a second. Can you show that run again, the runnable stuff?
Yeah, hang on just a sec. All right.
Just your little hello world one, or the one where it says run, runnable. There you go.
Yeah, this is just a little, just kind of a basic
Yeah.
example. I just pretty much plugged it in here and
Oh, okay.
ran it.
Are there any special? There aren't any. There's no packages. Nothing.
Nothing. It's just a.
It just runs by. It's just an output.
And you can actually run that, and it doesn't.
Yeah, it runs.
Oh, and it just says hello world. Okay.
Yeah. Yep, that's what it says. It just says hello from a thread. Basically, it just gets this
Yeah.
information from this method and runs it down here. At least that's what I gathered.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's all I got for you guys.
Leave that up for a minute.
Yeah, sure. feels so odd doing this on a Saturday.
Yeah, I know. I have been on group calls for about 10 hours this week already.
Dang.
This week has been kicking my butt.
That's a lot of group work.
Yep.
That sounds like it's a good vote for getting this project done.
Yeah, I agree. We had 5 group assignments in my project management class, and they all required all of us to have input. Just nonstop. Hey, can we meet tonight? 2 hours last night, 2 hours Thursday, 3 hours. I met for 2 extra hours on Tuesday after our meeting. I'm done. This week I am done.
I can imagine.
So what I'm saying is, I don't want to be on this call for 3 hours.
Yeah, I agree.
So how about 5?
We do need to get things wrapped up for our code that we have to put in by next Saturday.
Yeah,
We need
that's
to
what,
make sure we're all done.
that's what I'm going to be working on after this call pretty much all day, is trying to get a big fluency review ready and submitted.
Yep. I think I've got servlets pretty good for a disagree. Just that hello form is enough. And for the agree, I'll get a thing to work or something. And then I still don't know what we're going to do with threads and runnables. I mean,
Yeah,
what
that
is so
works.
great about them? It's just add 3 lines and now it's a thread. I don't understand what.
I think any output you do to the screen is a thread.
Yeah,
Almost.
I guess maybe it goes to your CPU differently, or it executes independently of other. I don't know. I have to look into it more.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I mean, if you're implementing Runnable, we can find some way to incorporate implementing Runnable.
One thing that I don't know, and it might be true for all classes when you implement something else, but it has to be abstract. There can't be anything, no objects created in it. So I was like, oh, I'll put this into this and see what happens. And every time I try, it says, your class is not abstract.
All right, it worked. I mean, all it does is just put out a hello world.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, do you have anything else that we need to talk about while we're recording, or?
Do we need to go through our little Scrum check now, make sure report our status?
Probably.
Yeah. Let me see.
All right.
All right. So let me go down to this meeting. So for me, since the last meeting, I have been able to work on that presentation that I just gave, and so I will be able to submit that and get a disagree at the least. And as far as, let me go find the other topics. As far as list of topics, I just have a few more of the code topics that I need to come up with something to turn in, whether that be a presentation or just some code that I find on the internet and describe and kind of understand it a little more. But other than that, I'm should be good on the disagrees. I think I have to come up with JSON, a little bit of something for JSON, and servlets maybe, but I should be good to go after today as far as disagrees. I'm planning on turning in something for everything today, so
Good
that's
for
what
you.
that's what I have.
Do you have any stumbling blocks?
Stumbling blocks. Um, I think for me, it's the code topics, just in general. I'm not a huge code person. The diagrams and the stuff like that make more sense to me. But I just have to learn more about the code topics. To be honest, I have to just get in there and get it done. Do some research and figure out how it all works.
Okay. Anything we can do to help you?
As of right now,
In the short
think-
term for next
Yeah.
week to get your fluency?
I don't think so, really. I just need to get it done myself and at least get acquainted with it.
Okay.
So, I guess we can go with you, Gabe, if you'd like to.
I have turned in something for Hibernate and still waiting on feedback. I have something for HTTP URL and serverlets, and now I have something I can turn in Sandbox for Thread. So I've got 3 sandboxes. I can just explain them. These seem really easy. I don't have anything for JSON, and I don't have anything for application control pattern.
And I still
I'm
don't
a
know
little
what that is.
confused about how to tell him that one. That's exactly where I'm at too. My stumbling on this one is, how do I tell him or get anything on that? Because the rubric says application control pattern, how, when to apply, and how to code it. So there's my biggest stumbling block right there. JSON, I'm sure I can find something that's easy to just submit, say, hey, look, this is how it works. Just a sandbox code, make it work on my system, submit it. But the application control pattern, I'm at a loss.
That one, I think you can do just kind of basic PowerPoint and record a video and said, hey, here, this is what it is. Here's what it does. And that'll get you up to that disagree point.
Okay, so that one's just basically going to have to be a presentation.
Yeah, I think from there, and then you could show even just your screenshots of code or even sample code if you have any in your NetBeans.
Yeah,
So I think that's what I was going to do for some of these, is just get a basic presentation out there to get it submitted and then work on more code.
Yeah, and I gave a presentation on application control patterns, so you can go back to that. It's on the presentation thing. It just has a couple slides, but
Okay. So that's my only hang up. My only hang up is what to do for that one to get me to disagree so I can continue with it. So
I'm sure a presentation would get you there.
okay, that's me.
All right, Mark, you want to go ahead?
Sure. At the moment, I currently have Hibernate and Serverless and MVC currently submitted. I have to finish. I finished up all our Java collections. I have servlets I've done a presentation on that I need to submit. So really, my biggest thing today, my big stumbling blocks were threads, executables, runnables, and then application control pattern. But I think after our discussion we've had, I'll just create some videos and, if nothing, just a brief lesson on them and record those and submit those, and so, and then it's just writing up the big profile for all the rest of them and getting that submitted. And yeah, I think the other ones, like I said, just have to finalize the code and get it submitted with in that profile, and I'll be good to go.
Nice. Sounds like you're going in a good direction.
I hope so. yeah, I think for UML side of it, I know it's not due now, but I think I just have to submit system testing and JUnit from what we just did, and I will be able to get to disagree and everything in those two areas.
Nice. Awesome. Jason?
This week, I heard back from him, and I have a strongly disagree still on 3, the same 3 that we had on Tuesday. Threads, application control pattern, and servlets. I have a disagree on MVC, and I don't think I should. So I'm going to resubmit that. I think I've got collections down. Well, no, he said I need to add some. If you just turn in list and set, he'll send it back and say, okay, you're almost there. You have to also put in map and tree. Those all have to be used in some form in your code, and he'll give. If you don't, he'll give you a disagree. I've got agree on JSON and HTTP, so I'm not gonna really mess with those anymore. And I have still a disagree on Hibernate, but I've got some more stuff I've been doing with that. This week I've kind of been doing Hibernate a little bit differently, and that's because it might just be me, but I cannot get NetBeans to work. It just flat out does not work. That's one of the stumbling blocks I've got. I cannot get Hibernate to work in NetBeans. It just keeps telling me Hibernate config XML file not found, no matter what I do. I have it working, and then I'll submit it, and I'll push my code to Git, and I'll come back the next day, download it all, and it says Hibernate config not found. So I'm using it. Seems to be working fine. So that's it. I'm ready to turn servlets in and JUnit testing this week and use case diagram. But the big ones are application control pattern and threads. I've got to get something for those.
Nice. Well, is there anything else anybody needs from each other or any help?
I don't know. It's just a matter of trial and error with me for all the rest of this stuff.
Well, Jason, when you were
Yeah.
talking about lists or the collections,
Yeah.
all that stuff that I turned in, he said I did a great job, but he still gave me a disagree. And his feedback to me was, now pick one and make it work in your program.
Well, I'll tell you what he said to me.
But I turned in something for everyone. I turned in a list, a map, a set, and a tree.
And I
as
didn't.
my.
And
So I
it
turned
sounds
them all
like
three in.
It sounds like you're a little bit ahead because he says, I see that your program uses a map and a list. What I would like to see is how you would uniquely use each type of collection.
So that was what I turned in, was a unique use of each type of collection. So maybe
You're a little bit ahead of me then. So yeah.
So maybe if you want to spend some time, I can show you what I did.
Okay.
We can do it an on and offline thing where we're not, in the group, but I can show you what I did, and then you can follow that same thing. And I can show you the websites I went to get ideas, because I pulled a whole lot of ideas from a whole bunch of different websites to make it all work.
Yeah.
So, but that got me my disagree, and then he said, now just pick one. Pick one of them and write a more robust program out of it, and then you're done. So, and I think he said I'd get me. Let's see what he actually said here. He didn't tell me he'd give me a strong agree if I did that, but he did tell me that he'd, pick one and write a more robust program. That's all I got to do. So.
Okay. I'm good. Let's do it. We can do it now or whatever later. Doesn't matter to me.
Are you guys on? Did you get your disagree to that point for the Java collections?
I still have to submit mine.
Cody?
I do too.
All right, so
I'm
you've got a
planning on doing
list of
today.
Tria map. You got a list of Tria map and everything you need, though.
Yes, I'm pretty sure I have. Let me take a look. Pretty sure I got all of them.
I think I have my end program already written for that takes map and does some funny stuff with it, but I still need to get that middle part out of the way.
Okay, so
Yeah,
yeah, Jason, we'll
I've got
do
mine.
this one offline.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got mine. I just gotta submit it.
Okay. Okay. Well, gentlemen, I think we're done recording.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.